Pat's Personal Portraits, guaranteed always to introduce you to somebody that you didn't know but you should because of a fascinating life, or somebody like, in this case, that everybody knows, Joe Garagiola, who has led a fascinating life both on the baseball field, Pittsburgh Pirates, St. Louis Cardinals.
Not in that order. I was with the Cardinals first.
Yeah, but I wasn't doing the order. Are you going to correct me again?
Always.
Toss this guy out of the park.
No, I feel like an eraser when I talk to you.
And then a broadcast, a game show host and talk show host, and you've done it all. But I've never asked you this. If you had it to do over again, now you're in your 80s now.
86.
God says, hey, you know what? You get to do it all over again, starting with the beginning of a career. Would the first career be broadcasting that you would choose, or baseball?
Baseball.
Really?
Oh, I would say, God, you want me to do that? Great. Let me hit 300 one time, you know. Just one time in my life.
You still have a love of the game, though.
Oh, you have to have, because that was the thing that kept us going. Pat, when we were kids growing up, we were like any other kids. We didn't know a scout. The first time they had a WPA camp, and I'll never forget it. And we were sitting on my porch, and it was Yogi and River and Nana and Poochie and all the guys, and they never used their baptismal name. I mean, would you call Nana Andrew? No, Nana. But anyhow, and this Pete Fasani came. He had a uniform on, and he said, you know, they got a thing out at Sherman Park where 2 ball players are going to be there. We'll go out and get some autographs. And we said, oh, come on. They'd kick us off like they kick us out of every other place, you know, because discrimination was pretty prominent in those days. And they'd say, hey,
discrimination against Italians?
Oh, sure. They used that terrible D word, which I only used once. They said, watch those Dago kids, they'll steal everything. Wow. And so we had this thing built up against us. But anyhow, they said, well, come on, let's go. So we went. And while we were there, it was Johnny Berardino and Johnny Lucadello, the 2 players from the St. Louis Browns. And they said we could get autographs. And then they had this tryout where you took 4 or 5 swings. And then they had the men from the WPA making jobs for the adults that would pick us. And that's how we got picked to play with an organized team.
Did anybody ever think about going to college in those days?
No, my neighbor, I think, was the first guy that went to college. No, high school would have been great if we went to high school.
Jerry Colangelo tells the story about growing up in the Italian section of Chicago. And now when he goes back to Chicago, he is the Italian man of every hour, and he's in the Italian Hall of Fame, Chicago executives and so on. When you go back to St. Louis and the Hill, and I know you do.
Well, I used to. I don't travel anymore. But
when the last time you went, right, though, do people treat you as Joe Garagiola, the ball player, the broadcast star, or their Italian buddy?
Buddy. I tell you, it's a feeling. It's a warm feeling because it's always Joey. Joey, how's everything going? And then we still have guys that I grew up with there, and some of them are gone. But when they talk to you, it's not baseball, it's not game show, Today Show or anything. No, it's Joey. Hey, Joey, oh, you look good, and this, that, and the other thing. It's great.
Do they know you in Italy?
Well, I have relatives there, and that's about as far as that I can tell. I haven't been there. I went over for the government in '57, and then
theirs or ours?
You're bad, Pat. You really are. You really are.
But no, they must know, though. They know about the Italian celebrated celebrities in America.
There are people who send clippings back. I remember my mother's sister, my aunt, who I never forget the first time I went there. I was in Milan, and I didn't know how to get to this little farm town, which was called Inveruno. And so I said to the cab driver, want to go in Veruno? And the guy, no parlare, no. So I took out a wallet and I said, quanto, how much you want? He said, hey, I know where it is, almost perfect English. But when I went there, it was so funny. I compared it to a trip from Kennedy to Midtown Manhattan. And so I gave the cab driver that money. My aunt, she was running that guy around the cab. Ladro, robber, robber. It was so funny. I wish I could have had a tape of that.
We could do Italian stories, we could do baseball stories, we could do broadcast stories. One story that I want you to tell me very briefly as we wrap this up. You're behind the plate. Okay, here's the scene. You're behind the plate, and the guy comes to bat, and it's the guy you most fear on any other team that you've ever played against, that you most fear hitting it out of the park. Who was it?
Well, I didn't worry about guys hitting it out of the park because you could always walk them. The guy you could.
Most feared hitter then?
Most feared guy you didn't want to have beat you, Jackie Robinson. Because Jackie Robinson would get on first base. You'd call for more fastballs so you'd get a chance to throw him out. He knew he was going to steal. You didn't know when. He could run off first. He could run off second. And he could steal home. Duke Snyder, Campanella, Farrell, they didn't do it. But Jackie, he was the most competitive, disruptive player I ever played against.
You got into it with him at the home plate one time.
Not really. It was so overblown. I mean, they showed a picture and I was supposed to be the bad guy.
There were words.
Not really. What happened was I clipped his heel and he didn't leave the game, stayed in the game. And when he came up to hit, Beans Reardon said to him, "You all right?" And Robinson said, "Not according to that D back there." And that's the only words. But Slaughter was the guy that got him. I'll tell you that. I've never said that before. He always denied it. And I even used to tell him, "You're the guy that cut him from his knee to his ankle." And when they wrote about me, and the guy wrote a book about it, and people, anything in a book, people believe.
You heard it here first. KTAR.com, Pat's personal portrait of Joe Garagiola.